spoiler warning. We will be spoiling the Rocky franchise. So if you haven't watched them, watch them and watch the Creeds because they're very, very good. They're actually a little better than you think if you haven't watched them. Wick. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Welcome back to Popcorn Poppin.
Concessions.
I am your host, not an Ethiopian child, and today we're going to be talking about the Rocky Creed franchise. My guest is Rocky Balboa. Rocky?
Yes, thank you for having me. You know, I never usually do things like this. Sorry, I forgot my leather jacket and my fedora. I couldn't find them, but I appreciate you taking the time to review all the great work that I've done with this franchise.
Well, honestly, it's not all about you, because we're also mainly going to be talking about Creed 3 tonight. But before I talk about Creed 3, let's run through the Rocky franchise in all of its glory.
The first Rocky, you know.
The greatest of all Rockies, I do say so myself.
Because I do. I can do that.
Rocky 1 was really, really great. It was directed by John G. Avildsen. And it was by a script written only by Sly Stallone himself. Now, this movie was really, really great for many, many reasons. And also, it helped propel Sly Stallone further into his career. Now, he's known for Rocky Balboa, for being Rambo, for being Judge Dredd, but Rocky had so many fucking movies that this is probably his most famous character. Basically, all you need to remember about Rocky 1 is Apollo Creed, the world champion boxer, gives a local person a chance at the title. Basically, it was a publicity stunt. And Rocky was a nobody, just another bum on the street who would do fights but not always win. But he would... Right? I think he not always won. See, it's been a while since I watched it. But he gets this opportunity, and he does lose overall, but he gives a great, I gotta go the distance.
I gotta go the distance.
Yes, that one. That speech is excellent. At least watch the film just for that speech, because apparently the studio didn't want to use it because it signified, like, doubt or whatever. And who cares about doubt? But it was all, and also I think that they wanted him to win. I'm not positive. Either way, I think that scene makes the movie. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's when he's explaining to Adrian that I'm going to lose. There's no way I'm going to win. But as long as I'm still up on my feet for all 12 rounds, then I know I went the distance and I'm not just some bum on the street. It was dope. Rocky. Highly recommend.
This is the one where I beat up Apollo, you know.
Directed by Sly Stallone and still written by him as well. Apollo's character kind of changes immediately after a bombardment of, how does it feel knowing you should have lost?
What? I didn't lose.
Yeah, I know. It's just a bit.
Oh.
Yeah. So basically, Apollo Creed changed his congratulatory essence at the end of Rocky, where he was like, hey, man, you went the distance. He didn't exactly say that, but you get the point. And in the beginning of Rocky 2, he's like, hey, we need to fight again because all these reporters are making me feel weird because they're saying that I didn't actually deserve to win, and you know I deserve to win, and I want another shot. Because in the first Rocky, Apollo was very, very like, this is just some bum off the street. But it turns out he wasn't just any bum. He was Rocky fucking Balboa. And Rocky ended up winning. That's basically all you gotta know about 2.
Hey, this is the one with Mr. T. What an asshole.
Rocky's trainer, Mickey, is revealed by Mr. T that he's been stacking defendant matches by choosing opponents that aren't that great and fear Rocky will get pummeled. I think that let me translate that. I think I'm talking about Mr. T is a character that came out and was like, oh, you're defending all these titles, fool. Is that pretty good?
Nah, I've heard worse.
Thanks, I really appreciate that. He's saying all these, things like, oh, the cards are stacked against us, you fool. You're stacked against us. To summarize, Mr. T challenged Rocky. Rocky found out that Mickey never gave Rocky the proper, defending fighters to fight Rocky. Basically causing him to have a good win each time. So Rocky thought, hey, I gotta fight Mr. T to prove something to myself and for everybody else. Mickey dies, Rocky loses, Apollo trains Rocky, Rocky wins, and then the only reason that Apollo agreed to do it was for a favor, and the favor is revealed to have one more fight between the champion and the former champ, but in private. And they never tell you who did win that match. but you will find out later.
Yo, Adrian, this is the one where I fought the Russian, and then we all had a good time, and I basically fought as if I was America, you know? And then, you know, I wasn't a bum off the street. Instead, I was America that day.
Apollo Creed fights a Russian, and the Russian ends up beating Apollo Creed so badly that he dies. Rocky felt bad about it. And Rocky goes to Russia and versus Drago and wins. And Drago actually gets shunned by his country and his wife in the process. But more on that later.
Best movie ever, said no one ever.
Rocky Balboa himself. Sly Stallone directed Rockies 2 through 4, but the first director comes back, John G. Avildsen. Sorry for butchering. Good.
John
You say
G.
it?
Avildsen, no?
No, that doesn't sound right.
Well, how would you know? You can't even say
I'm
it.
guessing it doesn't. Anyways,
Okay,
that director came back for Rocky 5. The worst Rocky, for sure. I don't want to be negative about saying these types of things, but come on, man. Who loves Rocky 5? And if you say you do, you're a fucking liar. I mean, do you like Rocky 5?
Well, you know...
do you?
I don't know.
I didn't think so. No one did.
Subjective if you think.
But Rocky loses his fortune. He gets something weird happening to his head, and he has to retire. He trained a kid named Tommy, and he neglected his son when he was training him. He spent more time training some random kid than he did for raising his own kid. Tommy ends up turning his back on Rocky. And then the public gets pissed off at Tommy. Tommy decides to fight Rocky, but Rocky says, we're going to fight in the streets. And they fight in the streets, and Rocky wins. But he also wins the heart of his son. It's not the worst movie in the world. It's just not the best of the Rocky series. I would recommend skipping this one if you go through all of them. But that's just me.
It was the best of times. It was the best of times. Oh, shit. I fucked up the line. What is it again?
Not directed by John G. Avildsen. Whatever. Again. But it is back to Sly Stallone behind the camera. Rocky 60. He loses Adrian to cancer years prior. So he visits her grave. ESPN makes a video simulation of who would win between Rocky and the current champion of that time. This movie takes place in, I think, the 2000s, right?
Well, I don't fucking remember. I've been hit so many times in the head. I don't even know what year it is
Rocky
now.
wins in the simulation against this young champion. The young champion decides that he wants to fight Rocky in real life, and Rocky gets a second wind of his glory days, and he thinks he can still have a shot. All you gotta know is he fights a young guy, and Rocky is very old, and he fights a younger champion, and Rocky doesn't win, but he makes all the rounds, and that's pretty impressive, and he puts up a really good fight. I do recommend this movie. The only thing I didn't like about it was the actual match at the end. They do some weird editing stuff. A lot of the movies have different styles that Sly likes to toy around with. You can tell he likes experimenting. So that was the end of the Rocky franchise as you knew it. But then a young kid comes along, right?
Yeah, little Mikey B.
That's right. Now we're on to the Creeds.
Originally, Michael B. Jordan was supposed to be my son because I fucked a black chick and had an illegitimate child, but they were like, no mixed couples. America doesn't like that. History repeats itself, you know?
Directed by Ryan Coogler, who had previously done Fruitville Station with Michael B. Jordan. Comes Michael B. Jordan as motherfucking Adonis Creed, son of Apollo Creed, basically a legitimate son who was raised as an orphan, didn't know his dad was Apollo, and then Apollo's wife, who is not Adonis's mother, ended up being his mother after all, after she took him out of foster care and raised him as her own. The son of Apollo Creed gets trained by Rocky Balboa himself. That way Adonis can become the champ that the father was once, but struggles accepting the father he never knew. It is the only film that wasn't written by Sylvester Stallone. And this and Creed 3 are the only ones he didn't write. He's not involved in Creed 3. Hopefully he has some small thing, but the way that Sylvester Stallone talks in the press, he's not any part of it whatsoever. He doesn't like the direction that's being taken. And plus he was really happy with Rocky Balboa in general, Rocky 6 that is. and wanted it to stay that way, but we had Creed come out. I will be surprised if I like 3 more than this one. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. Tessa Thompson, very high up my list. I don't have a list for like my biggest crushes, but she's up there, man. Like, she was the only good thing about Westworld.
Whoa.
That was a big statement. She was my favorite part of Westworld. Her character, Bianca, is actually a very strong female character that Ryan Coogler and her helped develop, so she wasn't just a love interest. Like, she had her own life, her own successes, her own goals, and she was doing her own thing. At one point, her and Adonis actually get into a tiff after he beats the shit out of her headliner, and he approaches her after finding out that Rocky is dying, and she goes, well, you know, it sounds like you got to handle your shit and I got to handle mine. Like, I actually really respected that. I heard a podcast earlier, and it's you should be able to be by yourself, and the other person should be able to be by themselves, as opposed to leaning on each other so hard that 1 + 1 = 2. It's better in a relationship if 1 + 1 = 3. That is something that I learned from this film. The cinematography was the best part of the film. It was so fucking dope. There's a 2-round shot in Adonis's first fight with Rocky being his trainer. And I read that, and by the way, all my sources are IMDb, not Rocky Balboa. No, he didn't even know, because he didn't shoot the fucking thing. But that one shot, that's 2 rounds of a fight, it took 13 takes, and that was take number 11. They didn't do any tricks or anything. That was 13 legit takes. I don't remember how long the shot was. Maybe I'll put it up here somewhere. But it's super dope. But the cinematography throughout the film is really, really good. Now, storyline-wise, the father-son dynamic fucking worked. I like that he finds out that Rocky's dying. Rocky is really having a hard time coping with this disease. He'd rather not fight it at all, but then Adonis comes up to him and says, listen, if I fight in that ring, you got to fight for yourself. And it's pretty dope because, you know, Rocky says, the fight that I saw Adrian go through with cancer is not a fight that I think I could ever win. It'd be the hardest fight in my life. And it's like, yes, Rocky still has something to fight that's more difficult than just boxing, but he's got to fight for life. One of my favorite scenes in this movie in particular was when Rocky goes to Adonis's hotel room, and he keeps looking at the door, and Adonis is like, what is it? And he goes, oh, nothing, I just want to sit here for a minute. And then he goes, oh, someone's at the door. And then it ends up being Bianca. It's like very obvious that he put that together. And he walks away, and they make like a cute little thing like, hey, don't forget, you know, no funny business. I liked that scene a lot, but it kind of took I don't like it when female or love interests in general reconcile with a surprise. Like, she showed up. Obviously, Rocky talked her into showing up, but I wanted there to be a reconciliation besides, like, you know what? I'm just going to show up to the fight. And maybe they filmed the scene where she's like, look, if I'm going to be here, we got to do this, and that. Like, I wanted to see them reconcile, not just see her, like, being like, I'm here, and then it cuts to the fight, and she's like, all right, here we go. Forget all that other shit we were going through. You know? So, that was, like, just one bit. I wanted a little more of the relationship with that in particular, but their relationship throughout the film was a good romantic story. They have very good chemistry, and I love the shot of them kissing for the first time. Kissing, it's upside down and they're on the ground, which they bring back into Creed 2. But before we get to Creed 2, this movie has such great editing and cinematography, and especially the main fight scene. It's so great. For instance, there's a shot of Adonis that lands, and the camera swoops around to cut under, and then it cuts under them fighting. So let's say you're on the ground. It cuts to them like this, and cuts back to the guy getting punched in the face. Oh shit, he's not just some kid. He's not just some boxer's son. This kid's got heart. This kid's got the heart of a fucking boxer. In round 5, the lighting comes on the fighters and fades out everyone else, and the music kind of changes as well. Later on in the fight, they show Adonis hit Ricky, Ricky's side, like his medic or something, gets like a thing of like Vaseline or something. Like he's like, oh shit, I saw an injury, better get this ready for when he comes back. Ricky smashes Creed in the head, and Creed's side gets ice ready for swelling. It's just really, really clever shit that they did in here. It's not just a fight where you're watching two people hit each other, but it shows like the intricacies of getting damaged during a fight, getting prepared to be like medically safe, and it just feels like you're actually in the fight. It's really dope. It's really, really dope. Anyways, there's some parallels that are scary, but Rocky lets him go out, which is a little scary because he could have sent his son out to die just like his father. But in any case, Adonis loses, and I like that he lost because it has a parallel with Rocky. But the other fighters like, hey man, you got my respect. So that was pretty cool. And we get to Creed 2.
What?
Do the thing.
What thing? Oh,
do the thing.
Ding, ding.
Yeah.
My last paycheck for being Rocky Balboa. Bon voyage.
No more Ryan Coogler. He didn't direct this one. A guy named Stephen Capel Jr., sorry for butchering your name, did it. Sly almost directed this movie, but he didn't. I didn't love the cinematography as much in this film. Not to say it's bad cinematography, but for how much I noticed it in Creed 1. There's only one shot that comes to mind that I remember, and that's one of the first scenes that we see, and that is the first time we're revealed to Rocky. He's almost like a ghost, too. I thought that he was actually going to be dead, and it was a trick, but Creed looks off to the side, and let's pretend there's a mirror here. Rocky's in that mirror, like, out of focus, and then he walks into frame in the foreground. Really cool shot. Very cool way to show Rocky on screen. Then they do, like, a roundabout shot. Really, really dope. I liked that part a lot. A solid sequel that was pretty obvious in terms of, like, why you should make it. If the first one makes money in anything in the film industry, they're going to make a second one. And this storyline made sense. I don't know, I just didn't love it too much. I guess the reason I didn't love this movie too much is Adonis is basically a kid. His reactions to things are very, very childish. Like, he gets angry very easily. He cries like a little baby back bitch. Like, I could beat the shit out of you, Adonis Creed. Michael B. Jordan. More like Michael B. Boren. That was pretty good. Please don't kill me, Michael B. Jordan. Please don't kill me. Adonis is a little annoying in this, but it all made sense for his character. It's kind of like when I watch films and there's an annoying teenager. Not to say Adonis is a teenager, but, you know, it fits character with being rebellious in a way that's fucks with your emotions as well. It's just a lot of times I'm like, Adonis, don't do it, or do it, do, haha. And the main part that you don't want him to do is to take the fight, because he's fighting for the wrong reasons, and he can only learn to fight for the right reasons by listening to Rocky Balboa himself. Sly Stallone actually is one of only 6 actors or actresses that has been nominated for Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor by the Academy Awards for the same character. I don't remember if he was nominated for this, but he was nominated for Creed for sure. And honestly, even the Drago and Drago's son storyline was pretty good in this. I like that the villains aren't just villains. Like, they actually have a reason to do the things that they do. For instance, in this film, they are shunned. And Drago, by the way, I can't remember his name. I'll post it right here. That guy did a really good job in his scene with Rocky, explaining, like, my country turned his back on me. It was really, really, really good acting from that guy. But anyways, him and his son going through what they go through in this film is actually pretty good and pretty interesting. So much so that when Drago's son loses at the end, like, it's like he gets up and, like, Adonis is just pummeling the shit out of him, and even Adonis kind of feels bad for it. But I love that Drago ended up throwing in the towel. That took guts. Do you have it? Guts. Do you have it? Guts. Do you have it? Guts. I have them. What was my lesson for Creed 2? What would you say it is?
I say for all of them, don't fight for the wrong reasons.
That's pretty good. Future Tony, you've seen Creed 3. What did you think?
I just saw Creed 3, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But let's get into what it's about before we go over anything else, shall we? After retiring from being the world champion of boxing, an old idol and youth home brother of Adonis named Damien, played by crazy-ass, never not working Jonathan Majors, the dude is everywhere right now, re-enters the champ's world in search for a chance to become the champion and live the life that Adonis always had instead of Damien himself. This was the 9th Rocky franchise film, Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut, and I gotta say, Michael B. Jordan, you're an excellent director. You can tell that this man has worked since he was a kid and is basically a filmmaker, because if you work that much on a film, you can see the intricacies of how everything is laid out, and he did excellent. Now, this was the first film that Sly was not involved with. He talked to the Hollywood Reporter, and he said the following: "I wish them well, but I'm much more of a sentimentalist. I like my heroes getting beat up, but I just don't want them going into that dark space. I just feel people have enough darkness." And this movie was definitely a lot more dark. Not in a bad way, but in a way that makes it a little less fun. The thing about Rocky movies is Rocky himself is playful. Like, in the first film, you're watching it and you're like, this guy isn't like, it doesn't seem like this guy has all of the smarts in his head. Not necessarily calling him anything less than human, but if anything, more than human, because he always liked to see the brighter side of life and always wanted to be more than just a bum on the street. And having that kind of playfulness is very fun throughout the Rocky series, even in press conferences, where like the other boxers would be like, "Oh, he's a piece of shit, blah, 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 blah." And Rocky would be like, "Well, just, you look good today." Like, he was always super, super nice. But without him at all, this film is it does go to a dark space. But I do enjoy the dark space. So Rocky is the fun heart of the series, and Adonis is the serious beam of light shining on success. It was my second favorite Creed. I liked it more than the second Creed. I love Creed 1. It's just so great. But this one had such excellent storytelling. The family dynamic that is shown with their daughter and Tessa Thompson's Bianca is crushed again. They crushed a great storyline for her. I don't know what I meant by that. Continuing the fighting for the right reasons versus fighting dirty aspect of this series is brought up very well in this. Damien fights dirty, and Adonis is trying to fight for the right reasons, as he's always struggled with. He blames others for mistakes that he is being told that are his, and it's about like taking responsibility, but also it's about letting go of your past and accepting what you earned. There is a communication therapy aspect in this film that's very important, and I'm glad that they bring it up because, in these days, mental health issues is a serious thing, and the lack of communication is a serious thing, and they showcase that a lot in this, that you need to communicate certain things, especially with your partner. The music in this was excellent. Ludwig Göransson didn't come back, sadly. But this person did. The cinematography was very, very well done as well. And the montage was my favorite from the Creed series. 100%. It was excellent. Because this movie is about showing a mirror of yourself, a mirror of a person that you could have been. And from your reflection, they're looking outside of a mirror at the person that they always wanted to be. So the cinematography was very important. And I think in the montage, helps solidify that by seeing them do like certain moves that are mirrored with each other. Just very excellent editing, very great camera work. Every time there's a boxing match, Michael B. Jordan makes sure to focus on the eyes and looking at their opponents all the time. It's really cool because in the final match, they're fighting like in like eventually because they fight at Dodger Stadium, and eventually the lights come down, and it kind of looks like a hellish swampland that they're the only ones in this boxing match. And it's kind of like where they shine the lights only on them two and they drowned out all the noise from the crowd. They kind of did a similar thing with this, except all of a sudden they're fighting like behind bars, and they do like this postmodern take on what their fight is actually like. But this was the most hardcore fight, probably, I'm going to say it, the best fight of the Rocky Creed franchise. It was so well done. It looked fucking real. It looked fucking brutal. And it looked like two men fighting their hearts out and being animals, like screaming at each other, like, ah, ah, and like just the way they would dance around the match and just be ferocious with one another, but also have a little bit of themselves reeling back from completely pummeling on each other until Rocky's coach, Duke, says, like, show him who Adonis Creed is. You're ferocious, you know, you're a fucking animal. Go in there and do it. Adonis wins. It was excellent. Very, very well made. Like Sly said, it was kind of a bummer that it was in a dark place. And it makes this film go into a different direction of darkness, but I do think that it is very well done transition for Adonis's character, because this was a very important part of his growth, and that is to let go of his past and just be proud of the person that he is and know that you earned it without having this anchor on your leg. It sucks that this storyline wasn't somehow introduced earlier, besides him being in a youth home and being really rough and gruff. However, this movie still had a way to make it seem like, yeah, that has always happened. Adonis giving Damien an actual shot at fighting is very, very Rocky. Rocky was about Apollo giving some bum off the street a chance at the title. Adonis gave the exact same chance to Damien, who was not like a professional boxer, but was a Golden Gloves boxer in his youth. But obviously he'd been in prison for 19 years. He never got back out there, but Adonis gave him that shot, and he felt like he deserved to give him one as well. And even though Damien did some dirty shit to do it, I think that he kind of deserved a shot as well, to be honest. Hiring the guy to break the dude's hand was definitely too far, but it was really good. And the reconciliation that they feel for one another at the end of the film was very, very well done. This film I thought was better than Creed 2, but Creed 1 is still my favorite because it's a lot less dark. Even though I believe that Creed 1 is the best out of the three films as a trilogy, I will say this movie, being by itself, is a better film than Creed 1 and Creed 2. Very difficult to explain, but I think you can understand if you watch the film. If you don't compare it to past films, you can see that this is a movie that's great by itself. But when you compare it to others, it is a little dark, but in a good way. I just do wish that Rocky Balboa was in it.
Thank you, future Tony. That was very funny and very informative. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you all joining me for this video. There will be more to come. And don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, be cool. Rocky, anything to say?
Go the distance. Go the distance and do you, you know?
That's something.
Wink.